Hey gang, and welcome back. These videos are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your unused collection fast and easily. 401 Games, Canada's top shop for all your hobby and TCG needs. Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. Moxfield, the easiest way to store and share your deck lists. And Foil Armor, flatten your foils fast. Eric wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws and plays a tap game trail. Kuzno draws, playing to Plains and passing to me. I've got a Cavern of Souls coming in on my turn, and I name Goblin for it and pass. Desmond draws, plays an island, and casts that sweet turn 1 Mystic Remora. Eric's turn has a Copperline Gorge coming into play untapped, and he casts a Trail Tracker Scout and passes after it resolves. Kuzno plays Chef at Dunes, and then pays 2 for a Valley Quest Caller and passes to me. My turn has a Snow-Covered Mountain coming into play, and I cast a Goblin Recruiter. I tutor 4 and put on top a Conspicuous Snoop, Goblin Warchief, Skirk Prospector, Ardaws, and a Goblin Ringleader, and then pass turn. Desmond pays his 1 for the cumulative upkeep cost of Mystic Remora and draws for turn. He plays a Shivan Reef, and we move to turn 3. Eric draws, playing a Kessig Wolfrun, and then casting Muerra, and passes after his commander's out. Kuzno's turn has him playing a Savannah for turn, and he casts a Heir Apparent, and goes to combat. He swings the Quest Caller at me, dealing 2, and passing. I draw, play another Mountain, and cast Goblin Warchief, and then pass. Desmond once more pays for the Remora on his upkeep, this time for 2, and then draws. He plays a Mountain and passes. Eric draws and plays an Oak Hollow Village, and then has enough mana to cast a Thunderfoot Baloth, using the 2 mana he makes off Muerra. He then gains 3 life off of Muerra, and he goes to combat. He swings his commander at Desmond, dealing 4, and passing after they connect. Kuzno's got a Canopy Vista for turn, and then casts another Heir Apparent. He makes a Rabbit token this time, and passes. I draw and cast the Goblin Ringleader we saw before, and I reveal the top 4 cards, all of which are goblins, and I put them to hand. I then move through my phases and discard down to hand size as I pass turn. Desmond lets his Mystic Remora go, having drawn 0 cards from it and being very frustrated. He then draws for turn, and casts Jessica's Will in his main phase, gaining 7 red mana. He then casts his own Krenko, and passes turn. Eric's turn has a Horror's Overflow coming in, and he follows up with an Innkeeper's Talent. He gains more life, and puts counters on the Overflow thanks to his commander. And then casts a Keen-Eyed Curator, and once that's out, it levels up his talent. Going to combat, he puts the counter onto Muerra, and Muerra then swings at Desmond, and the Baloth go at me. Neither of us decide to block, just taking the hit, and Eric passes after that. Kuzno's turn has him playing a Bountiful Promenade, which comes in untapped, and he casts a Heir Apparent. This time around he gets 2 Rabbit tokens, and he then follows up with another Heir Apparent, making 3 more Rabbit tokens as it comes in. Going to combat, he swings 2 of the Heir Apparents at Eric, who blocks 1 of them with the Curator, but still takes 3. With nothing else, Kuzno passes. My turn has a Tap Flamekin Village coming in, and I cast Ardaws. I then followed up with a Skirk Prospector, and sacrifice my Ringleader and Recruiter to cast Krenko. I'm then able to activate Krenko thanks to the Warchief giving him haste, and I make 4 Goblin tokens, and then go to combat. I swing the 4 tokens at Eric, he blocks 1 of them, but still takes 9 as Ardaws has pumped the tokens as they came in. With nothing else, I pass. Desmond just draws, and does a poor job copying me by activating his Krenko for only 1 Goblin. He passes after that. Eric draws, and makes 3 mana off of Muerra. He uses it to help level up the Innkeeper's Talent, and then casts an Arcane Signet. Going to combat, Eric puts a counter onto the Baloth, and then sends it at Kuzno, and Muerra goes at me. Kuzno puts his 5 rabbit tokens in front of the Goliath, and Eric responds before damage by casting Chaos Warp on Valley Quest Caller. After shuffling in the Quest Caller, Kuzno reveals another Heir Apparent, which as it comes in, makes him 4 more rabbit tokens, but at least he loses his other 5 through combat damage. With nothing else, Eric passes. Kuzno's turn has him playing a Horizon Canopy, which he immediately sacrifices to draw a card. He then goes to combat and swings his rabbit army at Eric, and Eric blocks one of them but takes the rest. In his post-combat main phase, we then see 2 more Heir Apparents, making more and more rabbit tokens as they come in. I draw, play a mountain, and cast Grenzo. I then activate Krenko for 8 more goblin tokens, and they all get pumped by Ardas as they come in. Moving to combat, I swing 4 goblins at Eric and 4 goblins at Kuzno, and Eric blocks one of them, while Kuzno trades 2 of them for 2 of his rabbits. With my goblin tokens then connecting, I exile the top 2 cards from Kuzno and the top 3 cards from Eric, thanks to Grenzo. In my second main phase, I then cast Throne of the God Pharaoh. Moving to my end step, the throne triggers and I deal 6 to each of my opponents and pass turn. Desmond draws and once more sadly activates his Krenko, this time making 2 goblins at least, and passes to Eric. Eric's got a command tower, and then casts Kona. He cashes in his Hoarder's Overflow for 5 cards, and follows up by playing his Sheltered Thicket. He then casts a Chainsaw, dealing 3 to my Warchief, and then casts a Wear Down, and destroys the Throat of the God Pharaoh, which has him reaching his Expend 8. This is Eric exiling Communal Brewing, and a Patchwork Banner. He also gets to return the Ham Sphere he discarded to the Hoarder's Overflow with the Trail Tracker Scouts expend. Going to combat, Eric then puts 2 counters onto Kona, and then swings the Thunderfoot Goliath at me. I take a total of 9, and Eric passes. Kuzno draws, playing out a Heir Apparent, and making some tokens, and passing to me. I've got a mountain for turn, and cast a Conspicuous Snoop. I reveal my top card, and I go to combat, swinging 8 goblins at Eric, and he blocks 3 of them, taking 5 and exiling his top 5. Sadly, with nothing on top, I just have to pass. Desmond draws and once more activates Krenko again, making more goblins and passing a turn after that. Eric's got a forest, and he casts Communal Brewing. Eric has each of us drawing a card and puts 4 counters onto the enchantment, and then casts a Rush Shield Rampager with Offspring. He follows it up by casting the Patchwork Banner, hitting his Expend 8, and names Raccoon off the banner as it comes in. He exiles his top 2, and then goes to combat. He swings Kona and the Thunderfoot Goliath at me. Before moving to blocks, I activate Krenko, making 10 goblins, all of which get +3/+0 from Ardas. I then put 4 in front of each of them to trade with both, but still take some trample damage because my goblins have no toughness. After that, Eric passes, and during his end step, Kuzno cycles Jetmir's Garden to draw a card. Kuzno draws, plays a Flooded Strand, and sacrifices it, losing 1 for a plateau. He then activates Sheffet Dunes, sacrificing the land and pumping his board, and he goes to combat, swinging 4 Heir Apparents at Eric, and 3 go at me. He also sends 7 rabbit tokens at me, and the rest go at Eric. I get completely wiped out, and Eric eats the Heir Apparents, but still drops down to 2. With his combat step over, Kuzno then passes turn. Desmond draws, plays a mountain, and then makes 8 goblins by tapping his Krenko. Going to combat, he swings 6 goblin tokens at Eric and 1 at Kuzno. Eric blocks 4 of them, but gets taken out from the other 2 going through, and Kuzno takes the 1. Having not learned his lesson from before with the Mystic Remora, Desmond then follows up with a Rhystic Study and passes. Kuzno draws and casts Baylen in his main phase, paying the 1 for the study, and then casts an Impact Tremors, but can't pay the 1 for that, and Desmond's poor life choices are redeemed as he draws a card from the study. Kuzno then taps his tokens for more mana, playing another Heir Apparent, and making 4 more rabbit tokens, which as they come in, deal 4 damage to Desmond. He then passes after that. Desmond draws, and casts an Exalted Flame Rift Tzeentch, He then taps his Krenko for more goblins and passes. During his end step, Kuzno draws 4 cards with Baylen's ability, and we move to Kuzno's turn. Kuzno draws and plays a Path of Ancestry, and then casts a Valley Quest Caller, paying the 1 for the Rhystic Study cost. He then plays another Heir Apparent, making 5 more Rabbit tokens and dealing more damage with the Impact Tremors. He then taps enough of his rabbits to make mana to cast 1 more Heir Apparent. Desmond responds to this with a Mindbreak Trap to exile it though. And Kuzno's ready with another Heir Apparent. This makes him more Rabbit tokens, and he scries a card to the top, and Desmond then takes more damage from the Impact Tremors. Kuzno then taps more rabbits to draw a card, and then taps more rabbits to help cast another Heir Apparent. He repeats this 1 more time to cast the last Heir Apparent, which, making enough tokens, is able to take Desmond out with Impact Tremors and win him the game. Game review time. This was a fun one with 3, kind of almost 4 Typal decks in the mix, and I always have a good time when I get to play Krenko. Unfortunately, it seems like bunnies were more prolific and more powerful in the long run. I will say that the MVP for this game was probably the Impact Tremors. It gave Kuzno's deck so much more reach, even though he did have a massive swarm of tokens. It just allowed him to churn out extra damage, which is always great in a token deck. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.